remember all of us getting dressed home in order to go. I can't remember the youngest person in the family at that time, but Bernice finished in 1945, and that was the year that Jeffrey was born, who would have been a baby in my mother's arms, so he could have been, the baby in my mother's arms, because she finished high school in 1945 from Colleton Training School, Walkboro, South Carolina. And we were there, and I think Mama's purpose was to show that this is the first child of hers who's finishing high school, because Mary didn't finish, the oldest daughter. She finished years later after she got married and had started with her family. And so Mama wanted us to let Bernice be the example for us, for all of us to at least make that big step to finish high school and go beyond high school. Mama was a high school graduate, and when she finished high school in Cottageville, South Carolina, 10th grade was the highest grade, but she finished high school. Then when Bernice finished, 11th grade was the highest grade to finish high school. By the time I finished in 1952, 12th grade was the highest grade, and it still is.
Mm-hmm. And then you talked about your love for French, and how did that come about?
When I first heard my sister coming home, and who was 2 years older than me, and she started taking French, of course, before I did. And so when she came home and started pronouncing all of these French words, and I realized that I could say everything in French and then couldn't say some words in English at the time. So therefore I knew French was my language.
Your language.
And I loved it. And when I got to, I couldn't take it until I got to the 11th grade. The 2 last years in high school, I took it my junior year, my senior year.
We didn't talk about this, but we're going to. What was it like when you first arrived in Paris?
Oh, I was so exhausted. We didn't get to Paris. We left New York by boat. There were 850 passengers, 4 black persons on the cruise, and the rest were white. We got a little upset when we had the masquerade ball one night on the cruise, because some of the whites used the masquerades they had were the KKK.
Oh my God.
So there were only, out of the 800 passengers, there were only 4 African Americans. One from New York, his name was a weaver, and my girlfriend and I from South Carolina, and Pat Grassley from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And of course, Liz, Patsy, and I were together most of the time. Weaver had his friends from Columbia University, because he was a student at that time at Columbia University. And so the 3 of us would be together. When we saw that, I think we ended up going back to our cabin, because we just couldn't believe that these students, and this was we were going there with a group from Temple. We hadn't met the group yet, because we didn't get in touch with them until after we got to Paris. And of course, that was a little disappointing for us to get that experience on the cruise line.
When there were places,
but we had a safe trip there. That was the most important thing.
When people think of Paris, there are the sights. When you saw and call them the sights, and you can describe them.
I couldn't wait until we got there by night. And so therefore we spent the night at the Fondation des États-Unis, which is the American House for Students. Mm-hmm. And it's little of nothing that you had to pay at that time to live there. And of course the accommodations were nothing fabulous, but we were there. And so we were tired and sleepy, and the first night, after seeing part of the city and all the lights, and the Eiffel Tower, we were just amazed at seeing the beautiful Eiffel Tower after seeing the pictures of it so many times. And then we saw the Arc de Triomphe, and we were on the left bank, and of course we stayed on the left bank, but we passed through the right bank first and then to the left bank. And it was just breathtaking to see some of the monuments that I had talked about and had films from Paris or before going to show my students. Mm-hmm.
Did you fall in love with Paris?
Oh, I loved it before I got there.